Good day and welcome to Bust the Net, a brand new program on the United Hour platform. And well, it's my show, President Chad. So in Bust the Net, we kind of do whatever I want to do. And tonight I have a really big guest, Lasana Liebird from Wired 868. Lasana, you are someone that I really look up to as being one of the premier journalists in the Caribbean. Your work, you've broken some really big stories over the years, and Wired is one of the leading publications, especially when it comes to sports journalism in the Caribbean. Let people know how they could connect to Wired 868 if they're not already connected to that.
Yes. Hi, Chad. Pleasure to be on for the first episode for your pilot.
Yeah, man.
So yes, at Wired868. That's simply wired868.com. We really specialize in sport and opinion. We do some health news, but I mean football, of course, is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been a football writer, journalist for a very long time. So definitely all things football. Certainly locally, we do stuff around the region and so on as well. Come to wired868.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, of course, Facebook. And we always try to get people the news behind the news. We aren't the people who would just give you what's happening on the surface. We like to tell you why something has happening.
Investigative reporting, as they would say.
Yeah, sure. So definitely come check us out for that. And here to talk about Manchester United and your love for Manchester United, I guess. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I could interview you a little bit, ask you a question. Why launch United Hour? There's so many fan channels out there. Why this one?
Being a United supporter, starting a chapter of a United supporters group in Trinidad and throughout the Caribbean called United Supporters Caribbean. I just felt like Caribbean people needed a voice. There are a lot of football supporters and a lot of United supporters in the Caribbean. And the thing with Caribbean people is that we are spread out throughout the world. I mean, the last I checked, I think we have like over 4 million Trinidadians in the world. And we only have 1.2, 1.3 million Trinidadians living in Trinidad. And I'm sure that goes for almost all the Caribbean islands. I'm sure there are a lot of people who either are from the Caribbean or their parents are from the Caribbean. And they lived all over the place. And we want to give the idea of the United Hour is to give those Caribbean voices a space because we celebrate football differently, to English people. We have our own vibe, we have our own energy as Caribbean people. And so the idea of the United Hour is to give Caribbean people their own space, their own niche, their own voice, where they can show their support, for the club that they love and that we cherish, and that is Manchester United. Yeah.
Okay. And where do you see Busty Net going in the future? This is episode 1. Where's the end game for you?
Well, Busty Net is just one of many programs on the United Hour. Pilot, the big program is the United Hour, which we do every Thursday at 6. But Busty Net for me is really an opportunity for me to interact with personalities like you and just other guests that I would have on. Is not really a program necessarily that I would do by myself, but always with a guest. And the idea is just a little free flowing conversation, allowing me to kind of come out of the straight jacket of, when you're hosting programs, because a lot of the programs on the United Hour that I'm involved in, I'm the host. And I don't always get to voice my opinions, as freely, because as the host, you want to make sure that everybody else is able to talk and voice stuff. So Buzz the Net is kind of like taking off the straight jacket, you know, talking freely and getting into conversations with hopefully a lot of interesting people like yourself.
All right. Tell me about the root behind your own love for the club, Manchester United.
Um, Growing up, you know, in Trinidad, we don't really have the kind of rivalries that you would have in the UK, where your parents, your father, more likely than not supported a club and you just grew up supporting that club, or a localization. You grew up in a particular place. You know, I've met one of the things I ask every person that I've ever met from the UK is what football club they support. And I've been doing this for years. And I can tell you 100% of the time, people support wherever club they come from. If somebody grew up in Millwall, they support Millwall. The fact that Millwall might be in the third division is of no consequence to them, right? That's where they grew up. That's how they are. Now, yes, there are a lot of English supporters that may support some of the bigger clubs, even though they may not have been born in Manchester or born in London. But most people support their local club. Of course, being we're not in England, so we don't have that connection. The connection for me to Manchester United was Dwight York. I used to watch Manchester United. I used to be a casual supporter of Manchester United. I preferred English football and Italian football. So growing up, I would watch Manchester United. I'd watch Nottingham Forest. I'd watch Sheffield Wednesday. You know, I'd watch, and there are certain teams you would start to like and be drawn to. But when Dwight York signed for Manchester United, that was it. It had no other club in England. And even though he was playing at Aston Villa was not one of the teams that I really was drawn to in the earlys. You know, I would watch them because he played. But you know, when he came to Manchester United, I already had a kind of affinity to Manchester United, and yeah, that was like the match made in heaven. There was no going back after that.
All right. Of course, those were trophy laden days.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah, yeah.
of
Trouble
lead
winning times,
days.
man.
What do you think of the present state of the club?
It's tough. It's tough to be a United supporter right now,
Mm.
in the sense that every time you think we going over, we hitting the final hurdle. You know, it's like you're running a race, and every time you tell yourself we hitting the final hurdle, you know, at the end of last season, with the challenges of falling short in the Europa final, and then we went into the transfer window, and then we got Varane, we got Sancho, you know, we got Ronaldo's decided he wants to come back, and the club seems settled and finally poised now with leaders and winners in the dressing room to take a next step. So it was like, yeah, this season was it. You know, the loss was the final hurdle. This season was the season we were gonna go up, and then we started to stutter. You know, horrible losses to Leicester, Liverpool, Watford. You know, it was like I thought this was the final hurdle. Then we had question marks about Ronaldo and how keep him meshing into the team. Okay, then we got rid of Ole, and then you know a couple of weeks now we start seeing Ralph, the team finally clicking into Ralph's system, and you start telling yourself, okay, I think I know Manchester United's best 11. I feel we could do something here. You know, if this team continues to build on these results, we could actually beat Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, and we could do something. You know, we could probably do something in FA Cup. And then boom, on Sunday you get the situation with Mason Greenwood, and it just, it may not be football, but it is so he's such an important part of the team, you know, and somebody who we've been following from the youth, you know, coming up through the youth league. So it just seems like every time we get over a hurdle, and as a supporter, you start to relax and say, yeah, we're getting into the final stretch where we're going to actually get back to the old ways of United, is just like another hurdle. You know, so now we had to wait and see how the players are going to react to this when we play on the FA Cup on Friday evening. You know, so it's hard being a United supporter right now. It's really tough.
So we have our first league game after this break next week. Do you
Yeah.
think if Mason is out on bail, if he is charged, even if he is in charge, I mean, do you think he should be back in his squad by next week? What do you think as a fan?
I expect the club, once Mason is charged, I expect the club to terminate his contract. They have already suspended him. They have already taken him off of all the social media associated with the club. If you go and try to buy a Mason Greenwood t-shirt off of Manchester United website right now, you will not be able to. If you try to search Greenwood's name, you will not get any search results. So he's been totally scrubbed. I think the game FIFA 2022 has taken him off of the game. They have deleted him. So he is not going to be playing any football for Manchester United in the near future, regardless of the outcome. Whether he's charged or he's not charged, I don't see him playing football for us in the near future. And worse yet, if he's charged, I honestly believe they'll terminate his contract. So he's young enough that I expect him to play football at some point in time in the future. I'm not sure we're ever going to see Mason Greenwood in a United jersey at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. Anything you have to ask me then?
Yeah, well, I mean, you are the man with your hand on the pulse, as you would have said, on football primarily, and well, of course, cricket. What is going on with Trinidad and Tobago football? What is the state of our football? Because we know there was some upheavals with the local board and FIFA, and what is the state of football in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah, the short answer there is not much. I think the normalization committee seems to specialize in everything but football, right? An example of that. Now, we get just about 1.5 million US a year. FIFA, that's just our FIFA allocation. That's not counting what you might get from a jersey sponsor, anything else, right? Which would be, my math is my strong suit, but somewhere around 10 million TT, right? Now, FIFA had a grant for members associations that could carry up to another million US because of the coronavirus, right? As you know, our leagues have been closed since March 2020. So that's going on 2 years now. And our teams are not active, right? Understand if you are let's say, a promising 14-year-old, because our first national team is under 15, right? You are now under 17 player. Your period for under 15 football has passed. It's 2 years on, and you have done almost nothing to develop as a player, right? That would be imagine if you are a Form 3 student, you did nothing for 2 years, and you came back out and you had to sit a Form 5 exam. That's what's happening to our football team, and because of the FIFA funding, right? You can't understand why that money wasn't used for what it should have been used for, which is to keep the teams and the players active. To me, the government allowed national teams to train. It's so important for the development of players, especially the young players at that age. And to me, it's almost unconscionable that you wouldn't create a pool, and they would want a wider pool now because no leagues are playing. So rather than training a national team on, let's say, 25 boys, you're honestly looking to be training something like closer to 40 boys now. But we would want to have every single national youth team training, right? It isn't terribly expensive to do, and the money is there for it. You could even hire in local, and I mean, the coaches now aren't doing anything. Obviously, they can't work, so you're giving them opportunity. You don't have to pay a lot of money, and get the young boys and the young girls out there so we don't fall too far behind, and so essentially, wreck their chances down the line. I mean, a Form 3, let's say a Form 3 player back before the coronavirus, he's now in Form 5 or so. He's supposed to be trying to attract scouts for scholarships and so on. What condition is he compared to a young boy his age in other countries who hasn't stopped developing for that period of time, right? So not much is happening, and is a really a terrible, terrible shame that that's the case. And I really have to put that on Robert Haddad and the normalization committee. especially because according to the FIFA rules, we are not allowed to use that money for anything else. Now, you would say in practical terms, well, let's use a little of it to deal with the debt because we're in so much debt. Okay, you turn a blind eye maybe, but you can't just stop playing football and use all the money towards the debt. There's no proof of that's happening there because I speak to Stephen Hart, I speak to Kendall Walk, I speak to Dennis Lawrence's agent, and they are not being paid. So there actually is no proof that they're using the money to pay the debts. I have to wonder what they're using the money for. But the reality is, FIFA rules doesn't allow you to simply stop playing football and use all your money towards debts for the obvious reason. So it's mind-boggling, essentially.
I mean, and the sad thing about it is, it's so easy for people these days to say, well, yeah, COVID. COVID becomes the convenient excuse. Yes, we know COVID is serious, but it becomes the convenient excuse. Well, COVID. But as you clearly said, the government has given room for these organizations to allow training. And even still, you have the money. Even if you take a group of players and you travel somewhere, you set up your own facilities. We have local facilities here that are not being used because nobody else could gather. So it's not like if it's going to clash with other sporting events. And we just dropping the ball. And those young players are the ones that are going to lose out because, as you say, if you were 13 at the beginning of the pandemic, by the time it's ended, your opportunity, for him to call for the opportunity to be seen and probably even go abroad to college in the US and stuff is going to be past.
Yeah, so because there are different stages of development in every field, right? And you can't just miss some and think nobody would notice it wouldn't have an impact. It's going to have an impact. You're going to be short in some areas. As a young person, you're developing in terms of your technique, you're developing in terms of your tactical understanding, in terms of problem solving. All of these things come, with playing football under the right coaches. And you're going to miss out on those things. And we are going to see it eventually. The senior teams, they camouflage that a bit. One, a lot of them are abroad, but two, a lot of them already developed. So it's more a matter of getting their fitness back in and getting their touch back. But in terms of the young players, that's their base gone. We will see it.
What is on the horizon for the senior team? Do we have any games coming up? Anything planned? Anything?
Again, since the committee came in, we had 2 practice games in that's almost 2 years, a year and a half. 2 practice games, 7-0 to the US and 5-0 to Bolivia. Both cases, they were not games that the normalization committee sourced themselves. It was a matter of a country looking for an opponent, and to be honest, a country looking for a specific type of opponent, essentially, I guess, a sparring partner with a weak punch, and that's
what they got. Sana freezing me for a second there. Let me hope that comes back soon. The state of local football is really sad and depressing, to be honest. So when Lasana's back, we're gonna move to something a little more less depressing. We're gonna talk a little bit more about Manchester United. In terms of the FA Cup game coming up, what are my expectations for the FA Cup game? I expect, now that Elanga has been on the team, I expect Elanga to be a mainstay on the team and to really, be there on a more regular basis. Lasana is back with me. I see you froze on me for a second there.
Yeah, sorry, the internet. Where did I reach? What should
I? You were talking about that we were a weak spine partner for our last 2 training matches.
Yeah,
I think you were going to reach. I was asking you, is there anything on the horizon for the
Right.
senior team?
Yeah. We haven't been getting any games. I mean, Terry Fennec didn't ask to play America, and Angus Heath didn't ask to play Bolivia, right? Those were games that were kind of offered to the nomination committee, offered to the coach, and obviously because our expenses were being paid essentially. So, and in each case, I think the coach probably took them because I don't know what else I'm gonna get or when next I'm gonna see something, right? But
Correct.
is that's not really development. You know, Angus right now would be thinking he'll want to see, he'll want to work on different patterns of play. If it is defensive, offensive, ball retention, something, and he would kind of want opponents for that. You would be looking for opponents that kind of match the style of teams they're going to come up against. And I mean, we had an interview with Angus up until recently, and although he said that they are working on things, it sounded a bit optimistic or trying to be, but the reality is there's absolutely nothing confirmed, and we are in February now. The competition starts in May, and I could tell you that if it were Naparima College where he coaches, he would have something drawn up. You know, Naparima College before the next season would probably know that, okay, July 1st to 10th, we go to Tobago, you know, 10th is whatever it is, we work on fitness, we're going to do this game, this game, this game on these dates, because that's just really, I mean, it's so basic in terms of preparation.
Basic prep, yeah.
Yeah, we are not even, our national team isn't at the level of even a Naparima College when it comes to preparation. So to take away one from that. You know?
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, not at Manchester United is in a little better shape. So let's talk about Manchester United to end off the program. Thinking about local football is depressing, more depressing. So we have a FA Cup game coming up. Jadon Sancho has rejoined the team after some bereavement leave. So, you know, we play in Middlesbrough, which is a team we should easily deal with.
Yeah.
You know, do you expect to see some more youth? You know, Ralph seems to really enjoy playing the youth, which is great for us who are accustomed to that, you know, United way.
I would recommend that we go full strength because we do not have a real pattern of play yet. To me, that's anything near where it should be. And to me, until Ralph has that, play your best team. Put 11 out there and let me see the team moving the ball around the way you'd like, defending, attacking. Yeah, he can't afford to be resting players right now. I don't think they should do that.
Use it as a proper practice match.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of looking to give Middlesbrough 10 or anything like that. It's just a matter of us wanting to see the team play the way we know the team should play, right? And definitely, I think probably the entire 11, you know, below their best and really, you know, have something to prove. They all do. I mean, you mentioned Jadon Sancho. I mean, to me, honestly speaking, I feel more certain of Jesse Lingard than Sancho if I were to put somebody out on the field. You know, that's honest. I mean, Mason Greenwood to me. Greenwood is probably on, I think, about 70,000 a week or something like that. Sancho is on over 300,000 a week. And I wouldn't think twice about which one of those two I would start. They would be a no-brainer, right? Sancho really, really has to do something out there on both ends of the field, you know, attacking and defensive. So I really hope we go out there full strength and we take the opportunity to, you know, show that, you know, Ralph has some sort of vision for how the boys should be playing.
Yeah. I agree with that. We know that yesterday, Ed Woodward was his last day. We were told that Ed Woodward was supposed to be staying on in a capacity of consultancy. And now it is being reported that we're cutting all ties with Ed Woodward, right? The club is not going to hold on to him. And the new, well, he's not new because he's been promoted from within, but Richard Arnold is going to be the CEO, and he is the CEO from today and moving forward. Are you optimistic with Ed's departure that we should see some improvement? Because I am optimistic. I feel like Ed has been one of the main reasons the team has spent too much,
Mm.
spent badly, and was poorly run on the football side, right?
Yeah.
The business side, the money side, the sponsorship side has been, run excellently. The
Mm.
value of Manchester United now to the value of Manchester United when Ed came in as executive chair has grown tremendously. But the trophy cabinet, not so much.
Well,
So
in terms of the football side, I honestly don't know how much blame I would put to Ed in that. I never got the. We have our own football directors, let's say, you know, the Fergusons and so on the board. And I don't believe, I haven't heard anything to suggest that Ed overrules any of those guys, right? So, yes, we've definitely paid too much. Yes, some of our transfer wranglings, they could look at Maguire and Sancho as examples, have been embarrassing. But at the same time, generally speaking, I think Manchester has got they have got the players that the coaches asked for. They have probably paid too much. They have paid too much for them. Maybe taken a while, but I think we have the caliber of players, the ages of the players that we have within the squad right now. I think should be performing a lot better. So I don't know how much of a difference Ed leaving will be because I don't think Ed forced the coaches to bring in Maguire and Cavani and Ronaldo, anybody else, and the coach has to take some responsibility for the players. He has. So I think the situation remains the same right now. I suppose the one big call coming up would be in terms of who takes over the job in the summer from Ralph. But even then, I really don't think Ed overrules the Fergusons and so on in terms of those choices. So I think he kind of goes along a bit with what he's given, right? Certainly, a lot of responsibility coming in now is going to go on whoever that guy is. I've wanted Pochettino for a long time, to be honest. So I hope he comes and I hope he meets expectations because it's been so difficult. We've even gotten coaches that we thought we wanted at times and it didn't work out either. We thought Van Gaal was a great buy. We hope for the best with Mourinho. Solskjaer, when he started off as an interim, it was going very well. And I think everybody was excited about Ralph when we heard he was coming in. We thought, great buy. And yet it hasn't really worked, right? So, yeah, I'm optimistic as well. I wouldn't put all the blame on Ed though. I think the coaches and the players and so on should take a lot of that blame. Even in terms of the salaries as well, by the way. I mean, Jadon Sancho getting something like £350,000 a week before he has even. I mean, the man, does he even have a goal for England or against a team that's not San Marino or something? What are you doing to the young players when you give them stuff like that? Salaries are so early before they've accomplished anything. But I know before Ferguson would have a say on issues like that. I don't know if the managers now are weak or not, but I think they should take some of the blame for what's going on.
Ferguson, from my understanding of what's going on at the club right now,
Mm.
Ferguson is a consultant, but more on the outside. He doesn't really get involved in the day to day.
Nah,
And
he's a board member. He's part of the
yes,
committee.
he is. He is a
Yeah.
board member. But when I say day to day, for example, when Moyes was fired, Ferguson wasn't consulted. So what I'm saying is that every move that the club makes, he is not necessarily consulted. So we don't always know, and the reason we know that is because a book came out recently. about Alex Ferguson, talking about not like the other books before during his great time, but talking about from, since he left the club, since he retired till now. And in that book, it's an autobiography of sorts. Is saying that, Ferguson didn't know that Moyes was going to be fired, and he didn't necessarily he would not have sanctioned that at that time.
Well,
And I
that was
remember
one goal
Ferguson
though,
doing
right?
an interview and saying that Moyes needed more time, and then not too long after that, he was out the door.
But that
So
was one call because Ferguson was involved with the Solskjaer decisions, for instance.
yes, yes, he
And if you
was.
remember the Moyes call, Ferguson was the person who asked for Moyes to come in the first place. So it is
He didn't
possible that,
ask. He
yeah,
told the
right.
club, yeah, there's the man.
So there's an obvious conflict of interest there. If you are the Manchester chairman and you always say, listen, Moyes have to go, you're not really going to turn to Ferguson to have the casting vote or anything. Yeah? And even if Ferguson disagreed, so what if four other people agreed to fire him and he was the only person who disagreed, So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that he doesn't necessarily, and then after having his brain aneurysm and stuff, he is consulted, but he's not as influential as some of, and I know a lot of supporters who would like him to be even more influential because generally we don't like the direction the club is going in. But let's see if that change at the top resonates, because this last window here was atrocious. You can't seriously be looking to compete for top four and compete in Champions League and not even trying to address the issue with the midfield, at Manchester United. But let's end the program on a positive note and not go down that road. So, listen, Anna, thank you very much for being part of Buzz the Net. And,
That's it.
people look out. You're going to see more content. You're going to see more interesting interviews and, a lot more of President Chad's opinion. So thank you all for joining me on BuzzDNet. And remember to support the channel. Click like, click subscribe, and share. Get the Caribbean community involved in the United Hour. As I always say, Red Devils don't die, we multiply. Good night, everyone.